Hello, this is Andres Romero with E2E Financial. Honored to have with us Debra Engelhardt-Nash, and we've got Marlena Voker, who is our marketing director. Welcome to our second E2E Dental Insights webinar. All of these webinars that we've put together for you are all based on the feedback we've gotten from our clients and our coaching sessions. And at the end of the day, we've always said what drives us is what drives our dentists and who we're working with. So I think it's really important that you know that these are topics that from our meetings you have told us are important to you. And today we have the benefit of talking to Debra Engelhardt-Nash, who is a dental speaker, consultant. She is a leader in dentistry. I've known Debra for many years, probably 20 years. We met through the Academy of Dental Management Consultants. We're honored to have her be here. She is past multiple time president of the Academy of Dental Management Consultants, Lifetime Achievement Award from the ADMC as well, past president of the Academy of Private Practice Dentistry, and been recognized as a leader in consulting and education by dentistry today. We're honored to have her here. She is not only an expert, but also a good friend. Debra, we're honored to have you be part of this group. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, having coaching in office has helped me really understand the value of our topic today as well, in terms of, when I see, sometimes when there's a mishit or a gear that's sort of out of place, I often look back and say, when did that happen? And oftentimes it's a lack of clarity of leadership that's where it starts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So as we get started, for the people who are on, we're going to first put our first poll up so we have a sense for who all is attending. So Marlena, if you could put up that poll, we would greatly appreciate it. So, and there you go. So if you guys would take a moment and just let us know who is in the crowd here. If you're an owner, associate, a manager, or other, we'd appreciate knowing who all is here. We'll give this about 10 or 15 seconds for see who all is attending at the moment. And again, this session will be recorded and be available for you to watch afterwards, and also for your key people in your organization as well. So we will, and you can share results and we can stop that. Great.
This is commitment for the Friday before a long weekend. This
exactly.
is commitment. This is commitment.
Amen to that, Debra. Amen to that. So, Marlena, I say we go ahead and let Debra share her slides. If you want to go ahead and I'll end the poll on my end here. So hopefully that ended. And then, Debra, you should be able to share your slides.
I'm here.
All right. And thank you so much again to talk about, I think, a key topic in terms of leadership in dentistry and with dentists.
Okay. Rafaela wants to come in.
Yep.
Welcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good time. And I'm going to try and
anything we can do to help, just we're happy to.
I just want to, whoops. How do I want to get the poll off of the screen. That's how, we want to do that.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about, and I could actually, so we just need to get rid of, maybe some of you aren't seeing the poll. I'm seeing the poll.
So just click on the X on your poll that's on your screen, Debra.
I don't have an X.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Are you able to, Marlena, remove the poll?
Still up there?
It just came back up.
Oh, yeah. So I'm
gonna you should see an X at the top left corner.
I don't have one. I don't have an X. Okay. I know X marks a spot, but yeah, why it's on my screen, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's not on everybody's screen. Maybe it's just mine.
It is not on mine. So I think it's just yours. Debra.
Okay. Let's see if I can. Well, then I don't. I mean, if I'm the only one's being distracted by it, then that doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'll just try and at least minimize it. get it out of here. All right. Well, I'm going to say that if I, if I can't get this off, then, I'll just navigate around it. Um, but if I only had one slide, and unfortunately I have way more than one slide, so this is going to be, I have a lot. I know they were sort of saying, oh my gosh, Deborah, you have a lot of slides. It's true. But I would say that if I just left them at this slide in terms of let them know who you are, the presentation could all center on that one conversation. When we talk about those of you who are in a leadership role and how you define that, it's man, the more you let your team members know who you are, and what it is why you do what you do, it is critical to being a powerful leader. So, and I think so we'll kind of stay on that for just a moment. But once again, if your actions inspire others to be more, and I think that's what, when we talk about attracting and retaining team members and attracting and retaining employees, if you create an environment where I come to work every day knowing that I can be more of who I am and that I can make an impact on the people that I touch, I'm going to want to continue to be there. So I always say that, man, create an environment where that I'm very aware as a member of the team that my abilities and my behaviors, my presence makes a difference in the lives of the people that I touch. And I think that's, for me, being in dentistry for over 40 years, I know that Andreas talked about why they do what they do, and I like to make a difference in the lives of the people I touch, not only professionally, but personally. So I think it goes back to, boy, talk about leadership. I mean, it is the foundation of so many things in your practice. It's your employee satisfaction, your patient satisfaction, your brand recognition in your practice. And, when you're working with your marketing experts, your social media designers, when they probably will talk to you about what is your brand, how are you being, how's your brand being recognized? Your leadership typifies that because your logo, your mission statement, your values. I have to, this is not about marketing, but I will say this, that sometimes when I'm working with a client and one of the first things I do before I start working with a client is I take a look at their website and I get an idea, I get a sense of that practice, and I get a sense of who they are. And sometimes I go onto websites and I see it's almost like a curriculum vitae that's being displayed on the site, as opposed to a video of the leader, the owner doctor, talking about who they are, what they are, and how they want to serve. And that, I think, pardon me, has, pardon me while I get all choked up about that. I don't know. But I think that if I'm a patient looking, I can read your curriculum vitae. I can read, where you went to school and the societies to which you belong and articles you've written. But to be able to see you and hear you and know, kind of your 60-second message of here's why I do what I do. So if you haven't worked on that yet for your website, and you might want to talk about your website designer about creating that opening video, that opening intro about, hi, my name is Dr. Nash, and thank you so much for allowing me to serve you. Here's why I do what I do. And that quiet time with that patient is huge. If you're not going to do that on your website, then I'm going to suggest, and once again, I'm getting into management, I'm talking about leadership, that when you are sending your forms to your patients to have them download, oftentimes I hear offices say this. They'll say, we're going to send you a link for you to download your forms, and you don't send anything else with it. And I think you should be sending almost your leadership statement or your mission statement. Record a 60-second mission or leadership statement about welcome to my practice. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve you. Here's what we want to achieve working together. Some sort of statement when you send those forms to make it less transactional and more relational. I'm all about creating relationships, and that's also what leadership actually will also do. So spend more time talking about this. I've heard this quote that my friend that actually introduced me to this, a consultant friend, that Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I know that there's a poll about, and oh, wait a minute, my little X is gone now. My X is up here. I'm so happy.
So, Deborah, on that note, should we bring up that poll?
Yeah, you should bring up the poll. And then I get the
Okay.
poll again. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. But I think it goes back to, I mean, I know we all established obviously financial goals and we practice management goals. And
Yeah.
in a little bit, we're going to talk about what your key performance indicators should be in your practice.
Yeah.
Those are transactional related, not relationship oriented.
Yeah. And
But
Deborah, if I could stop you for a moment,
yeah.
we just put up a new poll for you guys, and it does ask, as an owner, which do you value more, culture or strategy? If you could take a moment to click on that, in
I've kind
terms
of
of,
given them the answer.
I know you kind of have. So,
But if they want to be, if they want to really self-assess,
right,
if they're wondering,
yeah,
oh, wow, how much do I value my culture?
right,
Have I really expressed my culture to my team?
right,
As more, this might be the question. What do we talk about more in our practice? Our
right,
culture or
yeah,
our numbers?
right,
I
yeah,
mean, and what should we be talking about more?
right.
You
Well,
know,
and because we're on the financial side, Deborah, maybe we err on the numbers. So,
well, but
I
that's
would,
why we have you to help us
right,
do that.
right.
But
So,
you will find your numbers will go up if you focus on your culture. And I
great
hate
point.
to
Yeah,
say that, there's some very trite phrases, build it and they will come. Um, for those of you who don't know, I am married to a dentist. He's been in dentistry a long time. He's cosmetic aesthetic focused dentist. And he always says, if you do the right thing will always happen. And that's, I mean, and he doesn't pay attention to the numbers. And we'll talk about that. He has other people like you, Andreas, or an office manager or administrator paying attention to the numbers. So he can pay attention to what's really important and being the role model for the practice and being the leader for the team. So I think that's, kind of a critical piece. So once again, culture doesn't change through, it changes through conversations. Culture actually is a result of leadership behavior. So I think that's important to remember that that's what we want to do that. And I think it goes back to the employees learn about the core values that helps them conduct themselves in the workplace. So my responsibility or your responsibility as a leader is to inspire and motivate employees to perform well. And also with your new team members in terms of integrating them into the practice, into the culture. Here's who we are. Here's what we believe. And we'll talk about why that's so critical later, because my responsibility as a team member is to help the patients understand who we are and what we believe in and how they're going to be served and why they should choose your practice for their care. Once again, culture and leadership is about relationship. Numbers and strategy is about transactions. And I truly believe, and this is my philosophy as a coach, as a speaker, when I work with dental offices, if we create the right relationship environment, the transaction will follow. So when you think about, wow, is leadership esoteric? Is this a psychobabble word? It absolutely will direct our efforts to help us be more successful. And that's why I think it's important. So every patient experience begins way before treatment. It begins with learning about your culture, whether that be through your social media um, strategies that you have, whether you're doing Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever you're using, YouTube. And also, they're going to start learning about you. They're going to start learning about you. And experts will say that patients actually, first of all, they've chosen you when they chose to call your practice to make an appointment. That's the first choice. So my responsibility as a team member is to validate that the patient made the right decision. The second point that they choose you is when they actually make the appointment. The third,
Deborah, wait, I want to interrupt you.
yeah,
So, if you're saying that when an office answers the phone, they shouldn't say, "Oh, what insurance do you have?" That's not the first thing they should say.
that's a source point. And so many times and we could spend an hour talking about bad phone calls. That would be
Right.
a fun webinar to do. You
Yeah.
know, I could actually be who's the Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay of telephone calls. So if I'm a new patient, what I should learn about on that call, certainly we will get to the structure of the appointment and what kind of you could expect, but it should never begin with, "Hi, my name is Debra Nash. I'd like to make an appointment. Debra, what insurance do you have?" I did a secret shopper call for an office, and I do these for people with an office in Vermont. And the first thing I said, I kind of set it up, and I said, "My husband and I are new to the area, and we're looking for a dental office." And her first comment was, "Well, you know, we're out of network." And I didn't even ask about insurance, but it all became about insurance. It all became what insurance will and will not do. And she was almost talking me out of becoming a patient at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I may have given you that example because I may have heard that in an office I went to in the last 6 months.
yeah, I mean, it was, and in this office is a large practice, and they're actually becoming insurance independent this year, and they need to teach their team how to talk to patients about being insurance independent,
Yeah.
not apologizing, not saying "I'm sorry, but we don't." But it goes back to, well, what is the culture? Why are we becoming insurance independent? So it's not because insurance companies are bad and they take 40% of our profitability. That is not why we're getting out of insurance. So it goes back to that culture. We want to serve our patients well. We don't want to be restricted by the limitations, exceptions, and
I
exclusions.
love that term. I love that term, insurance independent. I love
We want
that.
to be insurance independent.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that we're not restricted by the exceptions, limitations, of certain dental plans. So
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that's our culture is we want to always serve our patients well. And some insurance companies and some insurance restrictions prevent us from doing that. And that's why we don't participate. We are an unrestricted provider, which means we're not restricted by the provisions of that plan. So now we're getting into the insurance. And once again, leadership directs that. Leadership directs that. And so if the doctor believes in that, and the doctor has a strength of their conviction about that, then they can in turn help the team understand why we don't take insurance, or why we have the financial protocols or the scheduling protocols that we've established. It feeds into our culture. We are here. This is why we're here, and we're going to establish our systems to support why we are here. And that's why we've created them. I think it's really interesting, though, when we talk about leadership. Once again, I think this was an interesting Gallup poll that only 29% of employees are engaged. That's kind of scary when you think about it. 54% of employees, and I've seen them, and I'm sure you've seen them. 54% of employees are not engaged when they go to work.
Yeah.
The scary part is 70% are totally disengaged, and they want others to know about it. They want others to feel it. So I was at a retreat the last couple of days, and we were at a beautiful resort, very luxurious, expensive resort. And there was a big difference in how we were treated, and we could tell. And the people I were with, they said, "Debra, you're judging, aren't you?" And I said, "I'm not judging. I'm assessing. I'm assessing behaviors. I'm not judging."
Yeah.
But when a hostess is seating you at a table and there's no smile, there's no welcome, there's no "we're glad you're here," and they just sit you and they kind of thrust the menus at you, there's a huge difference in how I'm going to feel about the meal, how I'm going to feel about the taste of the meal. And so it goes back to, wow, that's part of that culture. So I think that's important. So this is interesting. 71 out of 100 people go to work. They don't go to work to make a difference in the lives of the people that they touch. They don't understand it. So how can we as leaders engage our employees, engage our team members to say, "Man, I'm glad I'm here." Now we could be ridiculous and say, "How can you tell me that I would rather come to work than be home?" Well, for some people that might be true. They're getting away from dogs and children and cats and loud parakeets. Who knows? But then if I have to go to work, if I have to be at work, make it worthwhile. I mean, I just can't imagine getting up every morning going to a job that I hate. I mean, I just can't imagine. So what can I do as a leader to make that happen? So what we want to do is we want to prevent our teams saying things like this. And I hear this, And leaders should not accept this. That won't work. Our patients are different. We've tried that before. We should be patient centric and not financially centric. Our patients will never accept this. We don't have enough time to implement this. And those are buzzkill words. That's that disengaged employee who says, I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to stretch. And sometimes the environment that I work in with some of the offices with whom I coach, doctors let team members do this and say this. I've heard doctors come back from meetings after they've heard a speaker, or maybe Andrea say they've consulted with you and they want to go back and implement a new idea. Or I know you talk about huddles a lot, and a team member says, we can't do that. And sometimes I hear a doctor say, oh, well, okay, if you guys don't want to do it, then we won't do it. So now it's like, who is running this? Who's owning this practice? And I need to remind doctors that it's your stomach lining and heart muscle and investment that went into this business. And if something were to happen to a team member, who's going to still be there? You. And I tell team members, I know that we have some team members on the call. I'll say, team members, you need to understand that, number one, you are the greatest expense the doctor has. In terms of payroll, in terms of overhead. And I want you to also know that every day your leader goes to work, he's feeding your family. Every time, he picks up or she picks up, they pick up a handpiece, they're putting bread on your table. So my responsibility as a team member is to support the guidance and to support the leadership of that person who's feeding my family. I think sometimes the support gets weak if they don't know what they're supporting. If I don't know what the leader stands for, I don't know what to support. And if the leader vacillates, are we going to change protocols? Are we going to change beliefs daily or weekly or monthly? Then I'm going to say, well, I'm frozen. I'm going to become immobile because I don't know what to do next. So a good leader also has structure. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's face it, dental offices thrive on teamwork. A dentist can only be as good as the team that supports the dentist. And if you think about it, it's the team that the patients meet first. And 85% of the time that the practice spends with the patient is in communication, not in clinical abilities. So we spend a lot of time talking about clinical aptitude and clinical excellence, which is important. But to the patient, all of this other communication comes into play way before we pick up a handpiece and start doing our restorative dentistry on that patient. So we absolutely thrive on teamwork. We need them. So did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I was going to say this might be a good time for one of our polls. Just in terms of growth conferences and team meetings, to grab.
So take a moment, and if you want to, Deborah, do you want to explain a little bit what a growth conference is?
Yes, it's going to come up in a little bit, but I'm going to suggest, oftentimes a growth conference is not a salary review. A growth conference is sitting down with a team member and talking, saying, how's it going? What's been working well for you? Where could I help you? Where could I be more supportive? And actually, I was going to give a shout out for this wonderful little book thing that people might have. It's called Say This, Not That, 52 Leadership Language Shifts. And in one of the cards, it's like one of the questions might be, is there anything in the way I'm communicating that could be clearer for you? Have the objectives been made clear? So what kind of growth conferences are you having? And they are absolutely not related to increased compensation. So many times, and the reason I bring this up, so many times, doctors avoid having a growth conference or a review because they're thinking that means it's an annual salary review. It's an annual raise. It's not. It's, I'm going to objectively have a conversation about how well I think I'm doing. So the growth conference is the employee is evaluating themselves.
Right. So everyone, if you take a moment and answer this question now, how often you are having these, and is this more geared to one-on-one or in a team environment?
This is one-on-one. This is a
Okay, so
one-on-one, whether
so
that be the
one-on-one.
administrator having the growth conference with the employee, if we have that kind of environment,
Okay,
or the doctor having a growth conference with an employee. So one-on-one, it's a 30-minute,
okay,
it's planned, and the team knows that this is not going to be a salary review. And I'm not the financial expert, you are. But for me, raises are based on two things. Raises are based on, number one, increased profit. Did we
right,
increase our profitability, not our production? Did we increase our
right.
profitability? And
Mhm.
number two, what was that person's contribution to the growth of the practice?
Right.
It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
anniversary. Has
Yeah.
nothing to
Marlena,
do.
do you want to open? Sorry to interrupt. Marlena,
Yeah,
do you want to reopen that poll one moment? So now that people know what it is, are you able to reopen it?
Yeah.
If people want to try. So I'm sorry, Deborah. I just want to make sure
that's okay.
because now that it was explained, if people want to answer, how often you're having these one-on-one meetings with your team, I think it's really valuable.
Yeah. And one of the pieces of collateral material you will receive is my form for a growth conference. So that's going to be sent to you at the end, after the end of the session. So
Right.
you'll be receiving that. So
And we'll send the link. I like that idea of those cards. Say this, not
yeah,
say
it's
this,
called Say
not
This, Not That. This is once again, I order these things to say if they're worth it or not. This is a company called the Complete Leadership Academy.
Yeah. So
It's very
we will.
expensive to take this course, by the way, but you can get the cards.
Yeah. So I will.
Yeah.
We will send
Yeah.
those the link for people if they care to order those
Yeah.
on our
So
follow-up email.
lead, inspire, and achieve. So say this, now that 52 leadership language shifts. Don't say and do say. So it's kind of interesting. So
Right.
once again, I'm going to be as brief as I can about this because I know, man, I mean, we have all afternoon, right?
So we have about, and just by the way,
I know.
everyone who's on it, in terms of questions and answers, Deborah said it is okay. If you want to unmute yourself and you want to ask a question, you're welcome to do that. We're also going to dedicate about the last 10, 15 minutes of the webinar, which we plan to wrap up around 2, if you care to ask questions then as well.
Yeah. I'm going to be brief about this, but because when you talk about how often you should do them for a new employee, you should be doing a kind of a quick review at the end of every day for their first week. How to go today? What could we have done? What did you feel good about today? What could we have done to made it more effective today? That first week, every day, how to go today? How to go. Don't leave them in the lurch. Sometimes
Great point.
it's almost like I think about this old movie that John Wayne had, and he threw this kid in the water and said, swim. That's not what we want. And we want to make sure that person feels supported and cared for. Even if we put someone else in charge, maybe we put a coworker in charge of that. So every day, the first week, the end of the second week, the end of the third week, the end of the fourth week, we're sitting down saying, how'd it go? What did you feel really good about? What additional help could we have provided for you? How could we have been more effective to guide you? Sometimes I've heard team members say they never showed me where the traps were. They told me to clean the traps. They never walked me through, sterilization protocols, sterilization techniques in their practice. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. The end of the first month, the end of the second month, and then possibly quarterly. Somebody took a poll and said annually. I'm suggesting that growth conference should happen twice a year, every 6 months,
Great.
minimum. For a long-term employee, they should happen at least 2 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Once again, not related to salary increases, not at all. So I think that's critical. We're going to come up about that. Well, so let's talk about, so once again, we're talking about how do we inspire our team members to want to grow? It's about waking a belief and aligning your purpose, helping them see what's possible. I'm a big fan of, we're not going to come to work together and maybe you sing Kumbaya on your morning huddles, but there should be some sort of inspirational, why do we do what we do? I mean, it's not, do we have to work harder? Do we need to work better? Do we need to, once again, realign ourselves with our purpose? So, and when you talk about change is hard. Change is hard. But here's the good news about dentistry and the bad news about dentistry. We change a lot. Technologies change us. AI is changing us. And we need to be prepared for that. Same day dentistry is changing us. The work environment, whether or not we're private practice dentistry or an invisible DSO or a DSO, but change doesn't happen because we said we want it to happen. It happens when people believe in the change. That's what's critical. So there's a kind of a 4-step process. I didn't make a slide of this, but once again, why are we changing? Are we changing because a consultant told us to? Because Andreas told us to? What is why are we changing? How is this going to make us better? What's our objective? What is the objective of the change? What systems do we have to employ to make that change? What do we have to communicate to make the change possible? And then how are we going to measure it? How are we going to measure the change, that it was effective? Because sometimes you make a change and you go back and say, that didn't work. We need to shift. So you should be, one of the things that I think what in our practice, in my husband's practice, this is the things we always say to the patient, or excuse me, to the team: keep your knees bent. Be prepared for change. It's going to happen. It will happen. So be prepared. Don't get, and sometimes people say, I really want a turnkey employee. There is no such thing. There's no such thing. Oh, Debra has 40 years of dental experience. We'll just bring her in. She knows what to do. I don't know what you want me to do. I know what to do, systemically, systematically, technologically, I know what to do, but I don't know what you want me to do. You need to tell me. You need to let me know. So I'm going to fire hose these, but I think there's some leadership beliefs that are pretty critical. First of all, you need to master your own core beliefs. And a great resource there's lots of wonderful reading resources in terms of actually you could get a coach to help you do this. Get somebody to help you. You could go to programs, but I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek, and he's got 2 great books. Pardon me. Leaders Eat Last is a great one, and Start with Why. I tell all young doctors, if you're going to read anything at all, read Start with Why, because that's what patients want to know. They want to know why you do what you do, not what you're going to do. They want to know why you're doing it. So master your core beliefs. Be an optimist. We've got to be,
Amen. Amen to that.
I had a associate who came in and worked with a doctor. It was hilarious. He came in like Eeyore every day. And for those of you who don't know Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore was that, I guess he was a donkey. That character, and he lost his tail.
The donkey version of Debbie Downer. Yeah.
Oh, Debbie Downer would come in. Oh, everything is bad. Everything is bad. It's my fun story about the definition of an optimist is 2 little boys standing at a door, and they open the door and it's filled with horse manure. And the pessimist little boy says, "This room is filled with horse manure." And the optimistic little boy says, "There must be a pony in there." So it's like, how do we challenge ourselves and say, if you're coming in being pessimistic as a leader, your team's going to be pessimistic. I also have to tell a story about, I was observing a team and they were doing a morning huddle, and the doctor was in the morning huddle was just like, this is wrong and this is wrong and we need more patients and we need this and this is wrong and this is wrong. And they had a new team member, and she was looking at them just sort of wide-eyed, almost dumbfounded. And he turned to her and he said, "Do you have any questions?" She goes, "Yeah. Who peed in your Wheaties this morning?" And she said, "If you want me to be your cheerleader and tell patients how glad they should be to be here, I have to be glad to be here." She said, "If you want me to be a cheerleader, give me something to cheer about." So I think that's important. Have courage. Step out. You already had courage. You went to dental school. You started to practice. That's courageous. Do your homework. Figure out, how to make it work. Learn to work with the team. It takes everybody. That's absolutely important. And be a great influencer. Once, they talk about lead by example. Make decisions. Like, what do you think? And vacillate. And sometimes, what is that term, Andreas? You probably remember the term. Is it, paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
You spend too much time getting too much information. You become absolutely frozen in an analyzing. Make a decision.
Right.
You can shift. You can
Right.
always shift.
And that's one of the challenges with more technology now is you have lots of places to find information and resources, but you still need to make a decision and move
Well,
forward.
and here's the other scary part. Not only do you have technology, you have this thing called Facebook groups. And so many people are getting making people are asking legal advice from their Facebook friends. Like, should I sign this employee agreement? And what do you think about they're not attorneys. They're not accountants, they're not CPAs or CFPs, and you're asking them for financial and legal advice on in a Facebook group. I mean, it's sort of like, and this is going to be I'm going to put myself out there. I'm old. I've been around. I loved the old news when it was just news, when it was reporting events. And now now news is an opinion.
Yeah.
So,
amen to that.
yeah.
So I'm going to give you the 15-minute warning,
I
Deborah.
know you are. I know you are. I'm looking.
I've known you long enough. I have
3 clocks here. You know, I could be here all day. I'm wearing Depends. So there you have it. Yeah. So I think it goes back to this. Leaders need to be optimistic, futuristic, subjective, and passionate. Okay, so that's the role of a leader. So and administrators are objective. So leaders are responsible for being their mission. They're responsible for the values of the organization. They're responsible for the goals. They're subjective, passionate, and visionary. That's if you think about strong leaders in history, we can enumerate who they are. They're the people who it's like Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream." Kennedy talked about whether or not we really did put a man on the moon. But Kennedy talked about a man on the moon before there was a space program. Visionaries. Administrators, which are typically office managers, are responsible for being the objective eye of the practice. They're responsible for the operations. They're responsible for the systems. They're responsible for setting the boundaries. They're responsible for being objective, current, and operational. That's the difference between a leader and an administrator.
This is a great slide. Great slide.
Yeah. So I think I was actually doing, and this is going to be an editorial. I was doing an observation in a practice, and the person at the front desk was referring to themselves as office manager. But when I was looking at what they were doing, they really weren't an office manager because they didn't do any of these things. They were a receptionist. That's what they were. They were not responsible for any of these things. And I'd sit down to the doctor and say, this person is really not she really isn't your manager. She's your receptionist. So if you want to matriculate her into this role, we need to teach her new things. So leaders, look at this. Yeah. Look, we have a poll. Yeah.
Well done, Marlena.
Cue the poll. Cue the poll.
Yeah.
Thought this might be a good time after you talk about the difference between the two roles.
Yeah. So here's the big question.
So if you guys would take a moment here, if you have a written vision, mission statement, if so, how often do you review it with the team?
Yeah.
So this is a great question. I know some offices I've visited that they actually have this up in their office for everyone to see.
Yeah.
So what their mission statement. So
and hopefully it's not up in the office and they've started to ignore it because it's just in writing up on a wall. Yeah. So the question, a great team meeting question would be, if it's written up on a wall, a great team meeting question would be to go to that wall, read that and say, do we live this? Is this still valid? Is this still who we are? Do we need to change it? I still believe this. Oh my gosh, a leader question. I still believe this. Do I role model this? Do I exemplify this? Because this is who I say I am.
Right.
And do I exemplify this to my team and to my patients? That would be sort of an interesting, I don't want to see, come to spiritual leader moment. So once again, she put it back up. So the question is, what's your drumbeat, and have you told your team, what is your drumbeat? What do you believe in? Do they know? Do they know your why, your what, your how? And that goes back to Simon Sinek's starting with why. Why do I do what I do? Because I have a responsibility. Teach your team more about why you do what you do and who you are so they can advocate for you with your patients. Because I think it's responsible to give your team members something to talk about with patients. My responsibility as a team member, there's a term for it, is to create the perception of quality remote from doctor's presence. So I am the one who is telling the patients about how great you are. You're not walking in and saying, damn, I'm good. You're so lucky that you're here in my presence. But my team can do that, and my team should be doing that for me. So the more I know about you and the more of your leadership style and skills, the more I can say, let me tell you who doctor is, and let me tell you why I'm here and why I have such a strong belief in what we do here in this practice. So I think, I mean, that's an absolutely critical piece. So I mean, I'm going to pull out so once again, yep, let me go. I think the team is responsible for creating the perception of quality remote from doctor's presence. The team has responsibility to endorse the doctor. The more I know about your leadership style, the more I can speak about you. And I will also say that if there's not a sense of direction, even the most motivated or skilled employee is going to become weak. So great leaders don't direct the team. They also listen to the team. The team understands what it takes for us to be winners. So sometimes I've heard this in the past, sometimes doctors will say, I don't want my team to know our numbers. Well, your team knows your numbers. They may not need to know what your take-home pay is, and they don't know what your loans are. They don't know these things. But if you're going to ask me to care about the day-to-day operations, I need to know how we're measuring it. So if before the team can fix your clock, they need to know what makes it tick, and a strong leader will do that. So once again, I'm going to ask my team to be engaged in practice performance. A great leader will ask the team to be engaged in practice performance. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these. This is a whole other webinar. But this is the data. And Andreas has already taught you this if you're a client of what numbers are important. But I also, as I have this slide up briefly, I will tell you that oftentimes what doctors don't take a look at is attrition enough. Not how many did we get, but how many did we lose? And why did we lose them? But the other thing is, how much open time did we have last year? So if you start taking a look at how many hours you lost because it wasn't filled, and then you multiply that by the average hour, your average hourly production, whether it be hygiene or doctor production, multiply that by the number, by the number of hours you lost last year, that could be how you could grow. So the question would be, how can I get my team involved? So once again, you may not be able to change the employee, but you can possibly change the condition in which the employees operate. So inspire them. I think that's critical. Motivation is not sustainable. So motivation doesn't last. In fact, Zig Ziglar, famous orator, salesperson, says motivation in bathing doesn't last. That's why you have to do it daily. So what are we doing to motivate? So once again, how are we improving our efficiency and our productivity? Once again, management is about efficiency. Leadership is about being effective. That's the difference when we talk about those two things as well. So what are we doing to support? How am I supporting you as a strong leader? Once again, that was Howard Schultz, and his quote didn't come up. But Howard Schultz, it's interesting when where did he go? Howard Schultz, who was at one point the CEO of Starbucks, says if people really, funny, he says, pour their life into their work. And actually, we talk about Starbucks. Starbucks spends more money on training than on marketing. And you would think it would be the reverse based on their presence. But they spend more money on training their teams to be great baristas and to be great employees than they do on marketing their product. So I think that's interesting. So here's a couple of things about leadership brilliance. Teach the people who care for the clients how to care for the client. Empower people to fix problems fast in your practice. Give them the power to do that. They don't have to run to a manager. I know when sometimes I will hear doctors say, or I've heard team members say, well, I'm sorry, I don't do that. You're going to have to talk to the manager. Or that's not our policy.
I think, Debra, that word empowerment is so crucial to this webinar in terms of leadership, is empowering your team. And that comes from the ongoing communication you have with the team to allow them to make these decisions when they're there with the patients, and be able to be proactive.
And teach them the communication skills. So if a patient has a problem, they're not saying, well, I'm sorry, I can't fix that for you. I'm sorry, but that's our policy. Help me understand what would be in your best interest. How can we best help you? How would you be best served? Ask questions. And that's how you empower them.
Right.
Learn how others are doing it, and treat the team members as their quality people. You're asking the team to treat the patients as quality people. I have to feel like I'm being treated with that quality so that I can turn that around and do that for the patient. So it's being as committed and coaching your and training your team so they can develop the abilities and the comfort, the confidence to treat your patients well. Treat your team well so that they can treat the patients well. So once again, we've already talked about this. Do you have a ongoing improvement plan, or do you have structured growth conferences that are not related to compensation? When you have a team meeting, ask them, tell me what's working well. We're not going to focus on what's working well. We're going to talk about what needs improvement. So ask the two questions. Let's talk about what's working well. Great. Now, let's talk about what needs improvement, and let's pick the top 3 to 6 things that we need to work on. A simple way to prove to show your team that you care about them is ask them, what do you think? Ask them for their suggestions, and when you ask for their suggestions, take action on what you hear. The best way to improve your team is to improve yourself. How can I be a better leader? And that might be a question to the team. How can I be a better leader for you? What can I do for you? Think like a winner. I love this slide. I love this photograph. This is, you probably know what this is Michael Phelps winning the Olympics. Look what his opponent is doing. His opponent is not looking forward. His opponent is looking at Michael Phelps. Well, who won? Michael Phelps won. So winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. So where's your focus? Am I focused forward? Am I looking at the finish line as a leader? That's a critical piece. Your team will follow. So once again, your ability, your goal as a leader is to create possibilities, not to provide limitations. So once again, influence what's possible in your practice, and you will be a strong leader. So think about this. What is one behavior I should start doing? Maybe I'm not spending enough time talking to my team. Maybe it's a growth conference. Maybe it's a bonus plan. What is a behavior I should stop doing? Maybe I do come in kind of snappy and gnarly, and I have to have 3 cups of coffee before the people even want to talk to me. What should I start? What should I stop? What am I willing to commit to? So pay attention to that. So, I mean, wow, fire hose, leadership, critical piece, culture, I think, is a practice grower. And I think those offices who are steeped in culture, number one, they keep their team, they attract other team members, which I know is a big deal right now. But they help the team become stronger and better. And isn't that isn't that a sign of a great leader?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I appreciate you so
Can
much,
you believe
Debra.
I got through all those slides?
That was pretty impressive, Debra. I must
so
say.
impressive.
So we have time for some questions and answers. Just as a follow-up, we're going to be sending you a follow-up email with some of the takeaways, Debra, if you want to mention which ones they are. So we'll send that to people. I did find the link for the say this, not that card box. So we'll send that link along to people as well.
It's very clever. The other one that's really kind of good is this is actually designed by Ryan Vett, and it's called Be Extra, the Ultimate Customer Experience Cards. Cards to Catalyst Extraordinary Experiences, which is kind of cool. But before I would do that, I mentioned Simon Sinek's book. I would also mention the other book that I really like is Unreasonable Hospitality.
Fantastic.
A great book.
Yeah.
Great book.
So I had my team reader listen to that book.
Yes.
It's a great book. Yeah, it's a great book. But the collateral materials that I provided for them to send you is, first of all, the growth conference form, how to create one. I do believe, I don't know if I sent the article, the collaborative article that went with that, if someone needs it. And I also sent an idea for a bonus plan. If you're not currently having a bonus plan, I have a bonus plan that I have implemented in practices for over 30 years, and it continues to work. It never fails because it's based on collections. It's based on percentages. It's based on profitability. Andreas, I know you know it. The team is very aware of how it's acquired. And I want to create a bonus plan where the doctor does not resent it. The doctor should never resent giving the team what they deserve because they worked extra. So, once again, Simon Sinek, he also has like a daily 5-minute little podcast that he does, which is a fun thing to subscribe to.
Right. Well, that's fantastic.
But I'd
Deborah.
love some feedback from
Yeah.
what
So
people have heard.
yeah. So if you guys, this is your chance. You've got an industry leader on leadership and knowing dentistry inside and out for the last 40 years. If you guys have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask any question around leadership and the topics that Deborah just talked about. Please don't hesitate to ask. And like as I mentioned, after the presentation, we will send a follow-up email with the nice takeaways that Deborah is nice enough to provide to you all. I would be remiss if I didn't mention also the Nash Institute. If you all have not been, I know she has a dental business school coming up here in June. Deborah, when is that?
I believe it's June 19th and 20th. And I actually, you're going to be getting a flyer along with the collateral material.
Yeah.
So yeah, this 19th. I'd offer it a couple times. I offer it twice a year in Charlotte and once a year in California.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic. I've been honored to be part of it in the past. I think it's a great meeting for our dentists and also for their key team members. So I've seen amazing takeaways that practices have gotten from attending the dental business school. So that should be something that should be on your radar as an event that you go to, and we'll have all the information on the follow-up email.
I would also mention, if nobody's asking a question, that if some people may be reluctant, they might think, I don't know if my team would be honest with you about how I am as a leader. Do a Survey Monkey, do an anonymous poll. If you feel like you don't think the team is going to give you that kind of feedback. Some doctors on this might be saying, "Oh, my team will give me feedback, even when I don't want it, they'll give me feedback."
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, amen to that. So we'll close here. Thank you, Deborah, so much for your time and sharing with our clients and their team members who are on this call. Like I said, we will follow up with an email. Marlena, would you just finish up with the last couple of slides?
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I go into a lot of dental offices. It's just going to be as brief as I can make it. I go to a lot of dental offices, and I've observed a lot of offices in my years. And one of the things I really like to encourage doctors: be careful not to give too much power away. I see a lot of doctors give their power as a leader away to a team member, to a strong team member who may not be working in their best interest, or who may be thinking they're working in their best interest. So I say, man, sometimes, don't be careful about how much power you're willing to give away. You need to maintain your strength of conviction.
Right. And again, I think that also comes from ongoing communication and being proactive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a strong culture. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. And Marlena, if you would just wrap us up with the last couple, we've got just kind of reminding people some of the things that we do. And just to remind you, we're here to help you in the financial coaching, investment planning, and 401k planning that for you all. I know that various members here are working with us in one or more of these areas. We're happy to help you there. And also, this webinar series continues. So we've got actually our next sessions already confirmed into 2027. And the next one will be Friday, September 18th at 12 noon with Kate Williford. We'll be talking about tax planning. And then on November 6th at 12 noon, we have Janice Hurley talking about dental image branding. She'll be talking about that. And we just confirmed with Rita Zamora on marketing your practice. And that will be on January 22nd of 2027. So you'll be getting invites to all of these so that you can put those in your calendar. And as I mentioned, we record all these sessions and have them there for our clients as a value add, because we do think all these topics, which came, as I mentioned before, from our coaching calls, are pivotal to your success. So we appreciate everyone so much. Put up the legalese, Marlena, because we're required to do that as the last slide. And I'm sure everyone can read that. So the legalese there. But we appreciate everyone being part. We will send a follow-up email. Deborah, as always, I appreciate you and all that you do for dentistry and for your colleagues and being a fellow member of the Academy of Dental Management Consultants with you.
Thank you. You do great things as well. Great to collaborate with you.
Yes, and a pleasure to collaborate. I hope everyone has a fantastic Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Okay. With that, we bid you all adieu.
Be on the lookout for those handouts, everyone.
All right. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.